Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good day, everyone from every part of the world. And this is today we are having a very special guest who took learning and technology into a different level of community education, where he came up with a social entrepreneurship and he came up with a very educational and connecting program that takes people back to their culture and takes them to their language and takes them back to their who they are and what they're supposed to do in this world, and taking this through the most advanced and edge technology to connect people towards to their tutors through an application called Qupil. And today we're talking to Ahmed Eshrah, who is the founder of Qupil and the ideator behind it, the CEO of Qupil. And we are discussing what are the social entrepreneurship challenges that you can face while kicking off the technology product. And this is our scope of discussion today. How are you, Ahmed? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Muhammad, for having me here, and thank you for the nice introduction. Inshallah, it will be an informative discussion for the audience, inshallah.
Yeah, and hopefully, and I believe, there is a part in me that is telling that you're incredibly lucky, mashallah, and you're supported by a higher force. There's part of me is telling this because I know that in technology, it's a very fierce market when it comes to talents and coming through, and it's especially when you're putting a roadmap and the strategy that I see evolving every day, and you're having top talents actually in management team and the leadership team and working with you, and some names of them I know. It's not easy to maintain talents in this war of talents that is in the technology sector. You went into the most fierce market, and you decided, here I will put my social entrepreneurship. Here I will put my mission. So tell me about it. Like
Yes.
what how are you doing? Yeah. So I would love actually to hear the story from the from the start. How did you start the ideation, and and start putting in the elements together and putting in the strategy to maintain actually your presence and your success for almost 3 years now, or 4 years, I guess. So maybe I will just need to understand how did you make it happen? So
Yes. Yes. So first of all, let's tell people what Qupil is. So Qupil is a platform to connect potential learners, mainly kids, let's say, who would like to know more about Arabic and learn the recitation of Quran. So you would the typical scenario would be yourself, for example, or someone of the audience as a parent would go into the application, find a tutor after he defines his family members, finds a tutor who is suitable for each of his kids and maybe for himself and his spouse, and see the video and audio CV of the tutor and see his certification, and then book a series of private lessons where his child can learn at his own pace, learn how to read Arabic, learn how to read the Quran, and maybe also learn part of it by heart. Reading or qira'ah, tajweed or recitation, and hifz or memorization of the Quran. So this is what it does. And it's a full end-to-end experience, from finding your tutor to booking a trial lesson to paying or charging your wallet to reserving your sessions to making your sessions a weekly habit to attending the session to post-session evaluation. The sessions get recorded for safety and for monitoring your child progress. He gets his assignments. You rate the tutor. The tutor rates your child. You can see his progress. And you can also go do some free activities like attending a daily maqra'a or recitation with a tutor who would correct you. This is a free activity that we have. Or you can actually even subscribe your kid on a course, for example, to memorize Juz' Amma or something like that. And the courses would be split over a few months, like 3 months for Juz' Amma, for example. And each month he would take the session in a group setting and have fun with it. And part of it is that you don't have to do effort with your kid outside of the session. And another part, related to the learning experience itself is that we try to make the experience itself fun and engaging. So we use like modern education philosophies that have interaction and communication and motion, to make it fun for the kids, because typically this discipline is typically kids think that's not very fun. So this is what Qupil is about. And you are right. The first challenge is finding the talents. So yes, you are right. So there is quite a challenge in the talent field, especially when you are looking at people who are good management material and also understand the technology and also have good marketing sense. Because if you're doing a startup, you need a small team that's a very effective team. So I have to agree with you that there is an element of tawfiq, or let's say an uncontrolled force in that you would find the right people when you're looking for them, etc. But I think a very good trick that maybe people who are looking to do things like what I'm doing is that maybe you would like to find people who have passion for the same vision, or who like your mission. And sometimes if you have a mission, or if you have a community cause that makes sense, that you will find people with talent happy to join you. All right. So for example, my partner, who is also my chief operating officer, for example, he had his idea. He's a friend of mine called Marwan, and he had his own idea of a startup that he wanted to do. Actually, it was about e-commerce kind of thing. And typically, people are doing e-commerce startups every day. So this is something that has traction, etc. And then, so I was having these meetings with him and discussing his idea. And after we reach a certain piece of the idea, I told him, okay, I have heard you, and now we have a good plan for our idea. But now I want to tell you what is the idea that I'm going to do tomorrow. And I showed him the prototype, and he said, okay, guess what? I'm joining you. I'm not doing my idea. so so that
he
was
believed in your mission and your vision more than he wanted, or he desired his marketplace or his e-commerce
yes,
product.
maybe what he thought is, maybe what he thought is there are so many people doing e-commerce out there. So okay, it will be one more e-commerce project, but maybe this one is it's not like a me too. So if I do this, I have something that is unique or different, and
Yeah,
it became our project. Okay.
I believe in the uniqueness, Ahmed.
Mm.
Understand also how unique it is, but I saw many initiatives that started and without external funds and without even like normally these projects kick off and start, or sometimes they stay there in the app store while they're done by a fund from an NGO or something, and it's not really attractive. It's not really democratic when it comes to the way it works, you know. But this one, I know that there is no fund. It's your self-funded. I know that you
Yeah.
didn't have any investment round. And on the other hand, I know that you're in a very tough market of talents where
Yeah.
you are not. I believe that it's not one of the products or projects that you're doing sideline beside other things. This is the main business and core element,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
what you do. And here is what inspired me towards this interview. How did you pass through the challenges? Because many people start and after 6 months they get dried out of their funds and
Yeah.
nothing kicks in, and they don't actually seek high tech when they're working in there. Like they just want to do the normal things others do. So there is something here that happened differently, and this is what I want myself and the audience to learn and see. How did you tackle this and your partners as a leadership team, as a leader and as a leadership team? How did you work
Yeah.
this out and make it happen, in the end, mashallah, or and be sabab of having this happen?
Yes. So the way it happened is like this. So I had a co-founder in the beginning. He had an idea, and he was talking to me about the idea. He said, why don't we do, for example, something where people will recite Quran against an AI? Okay, so the AI will listen to the recitation and correct them, etc. And I told them, okay, I like the idea, but I do not think that the discipline of Quran lends itself to be person plus AI. Quran needs the human element, and a kid, I don't think a kid will enjoy sitting with an AI. He needs somebody to teach him how to read in the beginning, makes him like the language, makes him like, etc. So I said, okay, let's not do the AI. Now, this is the first thing I think people will need to think of, because doing everything completely automated can be also attractive from the funding perspective, because what you need to do is to essentially invest in writing some software. Okay, and then you put it on the app store, and then you reduce the price, and people will download it, and then it becomes a numbers game. Now, going the other path where the service is having a human element, okay, puts many challenges, because you need to have investment in a business process to find the service providers. For example, if you're looking at a model like Uber or other ride-hailing applications, definitely Uber would definitely like to get rid of the driver component. Okay, if all the cars are self-driving cars, then a huge part of the pain they have to go through, and the customer complaints, and the certification, and the audits, and goes away, because the car is self-driving. Khalas, that's it. The platform connects the nearest car to the nearest customer, and khalas, things are autonomous. And definitely, we'd like to have the only human element here is the customer himself. And so this is one thing. So we chose, okay, no, we want to not. The thing that we want to introduce to this community service, which is making a potential a kid or a parent who wants to teach his kid Arabic and Quran find his tutor, is that we will make it available, accessible, we make it fun, we make it from the mobile, we introduce the high tech, but we don't want to destroy the industry itself. The industry is a tutor and a learner, so we would like to keep it this way. So this was the first thing, and now there is the element of the software. And then there is the element of the recruitment, find a good business process, and reaching the customer. Now you have two scenarios. You have the scenario that I see many startups going in, which is they start getting money. And from the experience I had some people offering me to put money at the beginning. I remember showing my prototype very early to one person who was running a VC, and he said, I like this. I even personally like it. I'll give you my personal money if you want. And I said, I don't want money now. And the reason I didn't want money at that time is that also I was not sure how much money I wanted. I knew that there are specific challenges. For example, how much would it cost me to reach a customer? Customer acquisition cost. So if the customer acquisition cost is $10, it's a completely different ball game versus $100 versus $5. You don't know where you are. So how much money do you need? Do you need $1 million? Do you need 100,000? Do you need 10 million? You don't know. Now, when people start getting funding, the problem becomes, let's throw money against the problem and see what the money will tell us. Okay. So you will run a very expensive campaign, through a huge amount of money at it. And then you will find, for example, that your cost of acquisition is, I don't know, $100 per client, okay? To reach somebody with the right ad, and for this person to click the ad and do the journey inside the application, you spend $100 until the guy converts and becomes your customer. Mm-hmm. Now, the question is, and the problem is, you don't really know if $100 is the right answer or not. Okay, $100 was the answer because you can afford it. Okay, but is it the right answer or not? If you did not have the money to afford $100, was the right answer really 100 or 50 or 20 or 10? Because you just threw money at it, you find that you can get a customer at $100, you have $2 million of funding, so you can afford many $100, so you start acquiring people at $100 mark. And now the question is, when you run out of funding, is $100 a profitable thing? Can you sustain this business? Can you sustain this service? Or you can't? And I think we see this later. And we have seen this very aggressively in the past 18 months, when getting the next round of financing became difficult. So now when getting the next round of it, I start by $500,000, and then the next thing 2 million, and then the next thing 5 million, and then the next thing 10 million. And then when I want the 20 million, nobody wants to give me. Okay. When you are at Series B or whatever, nobody wants to give you. They do not want to give you the 20 million. And the problem is that all your economics are based on the fact that there is a next round. When are you going to shrink to your core? You don't know. When are you going to prove that this model is economic? You have good unit economics? You don't know. And then you are in a very bad situation. We have seen tens or hundreds or thousands of startups completely vanish because there is lack of funding. Surprisingly, they have had good funding for a long time. But having a lot of money sometimes spoils you. Okay? So I had this idea from the beginning that before I know clearly what are my economics, and I can prove that the model can work, I can generate traction, and then when I am going commercial, I can reach and acquire potential learners at a reasonable cost. Then, if I still need money, I will go and find funding.
That is a real,
yes. Go ahead.
a real trustworthy approach. Like if every startup and entrepreneurs thought like this, yes, they will get funds later, but they will get it on a solid ground. At least they tested the market, they know the market, they understand what's there, they can defend their position, they can actually, when they ask for more, I wish that every leader and every entrepreneur thinks alike, And when we're talking about the market and the market acquisition cost, we're talking about people who are coming in to get this community education service, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the service on Qupil is paid. You can get a trial lesson, and there is some free services. But for the model to be sustainable, at a point of time when you customize your own course or when you attend group sessions, etc., you need to pay for it. So now the question: if you acquire a customer at $100 and the contribution of a customer to you is 120, for example, or 150, can the 50 cover your overheads or not? So this becomes a very important question. And the problem maybe is that if you didn't have this, avalanche of money, maybe you would have had to be smart and find that your actual customer acquisition cost is 30 or 20, not 100. Because if I can afford to go to work every day by an Uber, I will not have the muscles to walk home when I want to walk home, to walk to work, for example. Even if work is just 2 kilometers away, but I have never done it. If today I cannot get an Uber, I will just not go to work. And the question is, what if Uber completely disappears? I don't have a car and I cannot walk. So خلاص هقعد في البيت يعني. What are you gonna do? So I think this is an issue about funding. I think that startups that are starting today or that did not get enough funds have been surprised by this fact that getting funding in the market today is difficult. When you talk to VCs today, they will tell you, show me the traction. So for me, my idea was from the beginning, when I reach the traction, I will see if I still need money or not. I know that this might be difficult to some people, especially if they are young people and they don't have their own money to bootstrap until they can raise funds. But maybe if they don't have their own money, maybe they can use family and friends, which is not, it is not considered in the startup world funding. It's just, I get some money from family and friends and start something. I think this can be a replacement to your own money, your direct personal money if you're young. But if your idea is good enough, so some of your family and friends would give you some money. I think Jeff Bezos, for example, started this way. It is, and then you need to be very wise with the use of money until you reach, if you really have a good idea, and then if after the good idea generates some good traction and creates something that is worth for people to invest in, then you might be going to people to ask them for financing. It involves, of course, a level of self-restraint when there is plenty of money around, but you get much more benefits in general, even if there is plenty of money around, because at least you don't have the psychological stress. To me, getting somebody else's money is plenty of psychological stress, especially if I don't have my numbers. I don't know my numbers. So the people I sat with them in the beginning, one of the partners was more interested in getting funds. So I would sit with people, I tell them, okay, this is the financial model. I have zero evidence that this is correct. And if you want to subscribe now, I'm going to give you a high price mark, but I am telling you that there is no evidence that what I'm showing you is correct. And obviously it made them hesitate, obviously. And I was not actually unhappy that they hesitate. If it comes at my terms. Otherwise, I can just take this forward. We've started late 2021, so we have sometime in 21 and then 22 and then 23. So we're like 2 years now, closing to 2 years, over 3 different 21, 22, 23, but it's really 2 years. And I'm happy that I took this path. I'm really happy that I took this path. And I would really encourage people who can take the bootstrapping path to bootstrap. Definitely.
Okay. So I like this bootstrapping and putting some tight, budgets, and don't overrun and don't really burn the budget that you take, and not easily going to investors or VCs before really bootstrapping and really defining what the market really needs and what is the cost there, and putting solid economic foundations. These are excellent, strategies. And alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, thanks to God, like you were guided towards being in this space now. So now working with talents, you're working with software developers, and these are the most scary people when it comes to what they ask for, like their commitment in time, commitment in quality, managing their outcomes. Software engineering now is like it's a market that nearly almost the ethical roots of it, like it needs very strong leadership, and it needs very committed talents, and to get committed talents you need to pay a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a war on this talent. They're always headhunted. They're always offered double and triple the salaries. So I just need to understand how are you managing this.
Okay, so I completely agree with what you're saying, but there is even more. So number one, you need to take, first of all, you need to take some serious decisions here. So number one, I would like to tell everyone out there who might be listening to you and thinking he's going to do his startup. If none of the partners is really a technology guru, don't do a technology startup. Okay, forget it. Don't even try to do it. Okay. So what does it mean if I am not a technology guru? That I need to have a partner who is a technology guru. Okay, and why is because in our area of the world, this is regardless which country in our area you are in. So if you are in Egypt or in the Gulf or in North Africa or whatever, I think the problems are very similar. In this part of the world, you have a very wide and very unregulated spectrum of quality. خلاص? And they are all using the same name. So this guy is calling himself a developer, and this guy is calling himself a developer. And there is plenty of misnomers. Okay, somebody is calling himself an architect. Okay, and he knows nothing about software architecture. Somebody calling himself an analyst, and he does not know what analysis is about. Somebody he's calling himself a designer and never heard what design means. Okay, and somebody calling himself a developer, and I have really a problem with the word developer today. You have people who are coders. Okay, some people who can write code. Okay, what's the difference between writing code and developing? I think it's a big difference. Okay, so I am speaking English now. Okay, I'm speaking English. I can be speaking English because I am reading something in front of me. So I'm looking at it and I'm speaking English. Okay, or I'm speaking out of my head like I'm doing now. Okay. To a listener who doesn't see me or who is not sure if I am reading from something or I'm speaking from my head, in both cases, I'm called an English speaker. Okay. But one of them, I'm just reading English. And one of them, I'm actually composing what I am saying while I am saying it. Okay. So the last one is a developer to me. A developer is somebody who you can tell him, and I want to do this, and he will find a way to do it through writing code. Okay.
Now you can get ChatGPT to generate the code you want if you just describe your module very well. So
absolutely, and now there is a big problem, by the way, Muhammad. And I want to actually, I think this is an area, and there is so much stuff on the internet and so much stuff on YouTube, and And now there is this challenge that you can sit and ChatGPT will do the role of the coder. Okay, ChatGPT will do the role of the coder. It will not do the role of the developer. And the problem today is that there are some people who call themselves developers, but they are actually coders, who would sit to ChatGPT and try to tell it what they want. It will generate code that they have no idea how to fix it, because ChatGPT produces code that is typically buggy. Okay. And the reason it is typically buggy is because it is learning from other developers, whatever it's reading the code from GitHub or from whatever other repositories. It's learning from other developers, and those developers, the code that it's learned from, it has bugs. So it will by default generate bugs. And the second thing is that it depends on the code that's going to generate on the description that you have put for your problem. You write a sentence in English, I want a code that is going to whatever, do this and that. And now we have another big problem in our developer community, that they don't know English. And we really need to fix the education system. Okay. So I'm giving a piece of advice to those young guys, developers out there. If you don't do English, don't bother yourself by being a developer, please. Okay. Don't just go torture yourself and torture others. If you don't know English, don't become a developer. Do something else in life. Okay. Like, I want to be a developer. I want so much to be a developer, but I don't know English. Then what is my advice to you? You will spend 4 years, for example, in college or whatever, taking courses to learn a development language. Please also learn the English language. It's a very simple task. If you want to go out there and learn Python or learn, I don't know, JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever framework or whatever thing that you are going to write code with, okay, you are going to learn 2 or 3 development languages. Please add to them one human language, which is called English. For 3 reasons. Number one, the people who have written these development languages are people who talk English. So the mentality of speaking English is in the syntax of these languages. Khalas. You will not really have full understanding of the development language unless you understand the English language. That is one of the fundamentals of its syntax. Number two, after you finish college, and a new version of the language comes out, you need to be able to do some research. You need to be able to go to the internet and read the release notes or read the developer guide. I don't know how people who do not really know English quite well, what are they doing? You are skimming through the things, you are understanding things incorrectly, and then you go and you write buggy code. Or you don't do something in the exact proper way that the development guide says, because you cannot really read the development guide well. So the implication is, if you were talking English, you would finish this development task in 4 hours. 1 hour out of those 4 hours was doing some research to read some release notes. If you are not well rooted in English, you will spend the 4 hours, you will read in 1 hour, you will understand only 30% of what you have read. You will then reread and find somebody to read it to you and ask other people and then try to fix the bugs that you will take. Instead of 4 hours, you will take, I don't know, 14, 20, sometimes 40 hours. Sometimes it's that bad, and I've seen it. Okay? So this is the second reason. The third reason is that English is the future development language. Probably 4 years from now, you will be a good developer if you can deconstruct what you want into pseudocode statements, primarily written in English, and then you will give it to something like ChatGPT. Maybe there will be new GPTs that will be specific for developers. What is happening today is turbulence. ChatGPT knows English and French and knows Python. But probably in a couple of years, there will be GPTs that are very specialized in development. And there will be GPTs specialized in legal and in medicine. They'll be specialized. So it'll be even much better in understanding what you want and in giving you the code that you want. And then the reality on the ground will be that you will be developing in English language. Now you will need real developers. And what a developer is, he will start from a design. He will be able to deconstruct the design instead of statements in TypeScript or JavaScript into statements in English. If you don't know English, you're not in development. So it's as simple as that.
I feel from your energy, Ahmed, that like you saw too much during these 2 years or 3 years.
Yes. Yes.
And your energy is really, like coming out very, very fresh and very wasalit, wallahi. So,
Yes.
how do you deal with it? Like if you, I know, I did lots of interviews the last 7 months. I've been doing interviews a lot to software developers, and been filtering them out through a very concrete hiring process. And in the end, like offering them the packages, that market packages, that always there is a race in the market with. So how are you dealing with all of this? Like, I mean, what's important here? How, as a leadership team, how are you managing your development teams?
Okay, so I had an experience at the beginning of the lifetime of the company where so I had a friend, and he had a company, and he had developers in the company, so I outsourced the work with him. And then later I thought, okay, let's have our own development team. So the first advice I would give to people who are doing the same thing, okay, the first thing, if you want to have somebody to write the code to you, okay, at the beginning, you don't want to worry about managing developers, and you want somebody to write the code to you. The first piece of advice is make sure that to whomever you are giving this thing, whether to a set of freelancers that are working together as a group, you can find them sometimes, or to a company, or to something in between, or whatever. You need to make sure that whoever you are giving this as a piece of responsibility, that he has good project management skills. Okay, so project management skills is very important. Okay, and why? Because you want to make sure that your timelines will be respected, and developers by nature are not into project management. They will just start sailing into the code and sailing, and sometimes over engineering or under engineering things, and then the timeline becomes flexible, and then all the deadlines become blurred, and then خلاص, everything is connected to everywhere else, and the project loses direction. So number one, project management skills. And we really have a problem in companies that are working in the software development area in our region concerning project management. For some reason, I don't know what. I have managed software development companies at part of my life, and this was part of a large organization. So I was the CEO for the consulting business for Raya until 2014. And at a point of time, I was managing their software development company. And it is essential to have, because cost overrun can even destroy your company itself. But the project management skills are rare generally, and are very rare in our part of the world.
I can relate.
So if you don't have a software development partner that's going to have this skill, you would better have the skill. You'd better have one of the partners who is very focused on, خلاص, they're giving me the developers, but I'm going to put my nose into the what is happening and what exact time. I don't know, whatever methodology they are using. Do they understand the meaning of the methodology that they are using? خلاص, you will go to a company and say, "We are doing agile development." Do they really understand what agile development is? Okay. Yeah. I am going on sprints, and theoretically the sprint is 2 weeks, but the sprint never ends. Okay, this kind of discipline needs very strong project management. خلاص, things like that, and then you have change management and other things that come around the project management. And then the second thing is خلاص طيب, and I have people who are developers. I don't like the way development is today. I hate it. Okay, so the time that I was doing development myself, which was quite some time because I started very early in my life. Today it's typical that people start at the age I started in. So you have people now, young kids, learning Scratch and stuff. So in the late 1980s, this is when I started writing code, and I was in first preparatory. At that time, it was not known that there is something in the world called writing code, in our part of the world. But today there is. So the nice thing is people learn development early. The bad thing is it's like the Charlie Chaplin movie. This movie with Charlie Chaplin, standing on the production line and doing with the wrench and doing this thing. You know what movie I'm talking about? Doing this, and خلاص, he becomes a machine after some time. So we are in the age of industry 3.0 going to 4.0. And industry 3.0, you want very vertical specialization of human beings. Okay. So this guy knows how to fix the glass. This guy knows how to put the plastic frame. This guy knows how to polish it. He only عارف ايه شغلتك ايه على المدفع. فاهم اسماعيل ياسين. So
Yes.
very 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 thin specialization. But in my mind, the development is a creative job. Typically, in creative jobs, you don't want to containerize yourself this way. Some people might argue that there is technology is big now, and you need a back-end developer and a front web developer and a front-end mobile developer and a UX designer and a UI designer, and these are two different jobs, and this and that, and خلاص. To me, this is wrong. I don't believe. I completely don't believe in it. خلاص. But what is the خلاص? It is the way things are. Okay, somebody might argue to it, somebody might argue against it, but what does it mean? It means that not a single developer has a complete view of what you're doing. Right? This is the side effect. So what it means is that you have to make sure that there is somebody who understands exactly what you are doing. Somebody in what we can call an architect or a designer capacity. And if you don't have that person, guess what? You are going to throw your code away after you think it's finished. The next thing that you will do is that you are going to throw it because it will not talk to each other well. And when it goes to the test of going to in the face of the consumer, you will have big problems. So again, either the team has an architect or one of the partners has an architect, because we said that we need one partner at least being a tech guru, right? So that guy would rather be able to do the architect job if the architect job becomes vacant. Okay. So if you are going to a software company, the first question you are going to ask, do you have a project manager? A good project manager. And if you cannot assess if somebody is a good project manager or not, don't do a startup, because you are not able to manage a company if you cannot assess if somebody is a good project manager or not. And then the second question is, do you have an architect or not? And then you bring your co-founder who is a tech guru and you ask him, tell me that this person can do the architect role or not. Okay, and tell me, can you do his role if he goes away or not? And if any of those three questions, the answer is no, don't go into a tech startup. Don't do it. Don't hurt yourself. All right. But if those three questions are okay, if you as the primary founder can be the project manager of the project, and if you or some other partner is a tech guru, then, for example, after you have a head start with a company or a set of freelancers, you do your prototype or your whatever MVP or whatever name you want to call it, and you say, yes, I want to go for it. Now I want to have my development team. You will be able to secure three things. Number one, you are going to be able to receive what has been written for you. خلاص. Number two, you will be able to recruit a development team. Number three, you will be able to bridge the gap. خلاص. لأن if you fail at any one of those, and you want to disengage from a developer at a point of time, خلاص, or you want to change your developers, or you want to get a new team, or you want to do whatever. So you need to be able to take over, hire, and then transition the thing. And so many startups I have gone through within the last couple of years, I see that they had a good head start. They think they are doing well. The software goes into the test of real pressure with the consumer. It crashes. They do not know what the hell is doing. It is happening, and they cannot take it over. They cannot hire developers. They cannot tell them what they want, and they go down. Or they start from zero again. They خلاص back to carriage return and start the line. So not a very good story, but happens all the time. So what I said here is that I focused rather on how to avoid being damaged by the community of development that we have. It's a very turbulent community in the development industry today. There is a great, let's say, brain drain or loss of talent, because even people who are sitting in the Arab region, many of them do not physically exist. If they physically exist in the Arab region, they do not logically exist. They are working for a company in Germany or in the US or in Canada remotely. So they are not available to you. And you cannot pay them $2,000 or $3,000 or $1,500 for a guy who has graduated a couple of years ago. For them in Europe, it's peanuts, right? For us, it's not, especially with the devaluation or whatever, even without devaluation. So now you have a pool of developers. Many of them will not satisfy the basic criteria that I talked about. Don't talk maybe good English, don't have other issues. And then from those that are available, some of them are only physically there, but they are not logically available. And then you need to fix the project management and the architecture thing. Now, if you find somebody who can give you a deadline and commit, who can read English, who can deconstruct something that you told him and convert it into code, not wait until you spoon feed him with exactly what you want to do, then if you find this person and he wants a handsome amount of money, it's not a problem to give him the money. Now, this is the question. The question is not about that the developers are asking for a handsome amount of money or a small amount of money. The problem is the person who is asking you for that specific pay worth the pay or not? This is the big question. And the problem is you go into the market, people are taking that amount of money, khalas, I'm going to get 1, 2, or 3, and you assume that they are good at what they say they are good at. And the problem is many people cannot assess if they are good or not.
Yeah.
Or you can go out there and try to recruit a CTO. And if you want to recruit a CTO and you are a startup, CTOs will be paid very high amount of money. If one of the partners cannot pay the CTO role, then you definitely need financing just to finance a CTO, etc. So it's this circle. If you want to bootstrap, or you want today, if you don't want to bootstrap, you will have to bootstrap anyway. Or at least you have to be wise with the funds that you have. So if you want to well utilize your funds, whether you're bootstrapping or you want to be efficient because the market is difficult, you need to understand technology, you need to understand project management, you need to be able to take over architecture, you need to hire people who are worth the money that you are going to give them, and then khalas, give them the money, and because the real spending will then be in the marketing and getting the customer and the customer experience, etc. So yeah, it's a matter of matching the value for money rather than matching the money. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good space where how you put it. And to ensure this, what are you doing differently in your hiring process? You know, what's do you do something specific with talent acquisition and retaining talents that, you know, maybe you can share some of these secrets? Because staying for, you know, a new brand that is a social entrepreneurship, and somehow it has a religious inclination, maybe sometimes for some people, they shy off taking this as a risk, you know, like on their CV, you know.
And, one of the tricks, I'm not sure if that kind of trick will be available to many people or not. So one of the management team who is also vested in the company is a talent acquisition guy. Okay.
So you already got it. Yeah.
So this is
you
one
have
thing.
The competences there.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So this is one thing. I'm not sure how much available that would be to startups, but there are other solutions. But this was in my case. And then you might as well use some tools. Khalas. You might as well think of how to make things easy for people who you think are good for you to join you. For example, if developers in Egypt can work remotely with setups in the US and in Europe, then why don't you really consider having a kind of remote work or work from home thing? Okay. What is the real value of a developer traveling for 1.5 hours every day, twice a day to come to your office? Okay. Then there are the challenges of managing remote work. This is a different kind of challenge. Then there is one trick, which is khalas, and I want to have these vertical skills. For example, in Qupil, we are using so many diverse technologies. We are using Google technologies, Amazon technologies. We are using things like NoSQL databases. We are using video audio streaming services. We are using storage services, etc. We're using many things. And we are using tools for the development process, etc., etc. So maybe a trick would be that hiring full-time people might not be the right strategy for fixing everything. Maybe you would like to have an ecosystem of experts that you can go and take an hour a day from this person, 3 hours a day from that person, full-time from that person. Another trick, something that is happening in the market today, that you contract somebody to be your full-time employee, and guess what? To this person, full-time means 8 hours a day. Okay, so he's working with you full time, which means 8 hours a day. But he is also, after 5 p.m. he starts another part-time job, and then after 11 p.m. he starts another part-time job. I don't know when these guys sleep actually. يعني.
Yeah.
خلاص. And then he calls that a full-time. Okay, he's full-time with you, but he has two other gigs that he's doing at the sidelines. And I think somebody who is serious about his startup should have people who are full-time, who are really full-time. Okay, because you need some of your people to give you their complete mind and soul. Yani when they finish working, it means that they're going to sleep, they're going to go out with their family, they're going to have some fun. And I'm not sure if somebody who is completely burnt out working 20 hours, or 12 hours or 16 hours a day doing something stressful like development, what is the quality of his 1 hour aslan? It is very tricky.
Yeah.
So 4 tricks. Number one, consider giving developers a good environment to work in. For example, enable work from home, but you need to solve the problems that come with work from home. Number two, if you have people who are full time, maybe you need to make sure it is really full time. And you need to see what are the motives that make them have a full time job and have some part time jobs beside the full time job, and fix these problems. Okay. And then number three, maybe you need an ecosystem of part-timers who are subject matter experts that you will use on need basis. خلاص. So you have a UX in your environment. You need to give a good user experience for your customers. It doesn't mean that you have to have a full-time UX designer, right? But you need a very good UX designer, and you take a part of his time if you can find him. This is another question, if you can find him or not. Same, you need some graphics design, or you have an element of gamification, or you have an element of animation, or you have an element of this or that. Having a good constellation of experts that you can draw on can be something that makes very good sense if you use it well. Now, you can only use it well if you do the first things that I tell you, that you have a tech guru so he can connect the dots, and you have a good project management so you can actually make sure that things are going in the right direction. So yeah, actually, quite tricky. Now, another element, that if your application is solving a genuine problem in the world, that even your developers can relate to it and find that they like writing this piece of software. I like doing this because I think this solves a real genuine problem that exists, and I want to be part of the solution. Then you have another dimension that can be an attraction force. Actually, I think it worked for me well. So yeah.
I like your recipe. Really, it's really very, very comprehensive, and in a way, it's flexible and shows flexibility and shows also abundance. Because I work
Yeah.
with some leaders who are actually, they're very hoarding to their talents, and either you're a full time and fully with me, or you're not there. Like as if this if you work for others part-time, or you're a flexible person managing some parts of your project with some good actually software developers, this will let you lose your maybe IP or your intellectual, as if these talents are persons, and these companies are the most companies that are suffering from huge turnover.
And huge cost.
Exactly. So, what you're saying here is really giving a lot of flexibility and practicality also. It's a very practical method to really maintain talents and have it for longer time. And even, though you are using this, I guess it creates a sense of ease, mission, focus on the vision. And at the same time, I have my space, I have my ability to contribute to other things, and give and dedicate my time here in a good manner. And this is really a leadership trait and the leadership mindset that's rare out there in this market. So thank you for being this, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I believe that we are now almost 48 minutes, and we're on top of the hour going to. So in maybe in maybe 2 or 3 minutes, what can be the major lesson and the wisdom of life that you took from until this state that we are in as we are speaking. And I see Qupil going going
Step
further,
by step. Yes.
going
Uh,
further and growing. And it's not one of these that I'm really, خايف عليهم, or having some fears that they will stop, or I sense that it will see further territories, further lands. And actually, we're doing this interview in English because we want to speak also to those Muslims around the world and those who can use Qupil around the world, who really are not non-Arab speakers. And Qupil is enabling them to access services with highly qualified educators, highly qualified Quran tutors, and also Quran tutors around the world who are actually who are non-Arab speakers. They can actually genuinely join here and put their languages and support other Muslims with the same language that they're having
yeah.
all around the world, and support the generations 2 and 3 and 4, and in the West, whether or in the abroad, who are actually may need to have very good and excellent, tutors, tested tutors, assessed tutors. They can go to Qupil, and this is how they can get it from Google Play and from App Store. So
Yes.
what's, just tap it in a couple of minutes, please, Ahmed. What's the wisdom of life? What's the biggest lessons that you want to summarize and close this interview with?
Yes, it's something about the nature of let's say the B2C thing, and having something that gives service to a community is, at the end of the day, you're dealing directly with the consumer, versus, for example, giving a corporate service or giving something where the consumer will be a business entity. So when you are dealing with the consumer, and especially for Qupil, for example, you are looking at a parent who will go and book, and then the consumer of the service would be a child. So now the user experience, the matter of the user experience is a very big matter. So the wisdom is, in a nutshell, if you want to reach the right place, let the customer take you to the right place. And for the customer to take you to the right place, you need to listen to what the customer is doing. I will give you a simple example, and it's a funny example, but it's very strange to me that this is even an example. So at the beginning of Qupil, you will have a screen that will tell you, do you have an existing account, or you want to create an account? Khalas. And our login is just email and password. Khalas. So people will just write the email and password. They don't have an existing account, and they will click login. They don't have, so the system tells them the email is wrong. Okay, and they will go to the email, try to fix their name or something, and then click again on login. And they just keep. Don't know why they're doing this. There is another button where you have create account written on it. And the funny thing is, khalas, and I have logged on before, I have created my account before. Now I remove the app or something, or I logged out and I am logging in again. And there is a login, you put your email and password, and they don't click login. They create account. So then they will click create account, and then the account already exists. And they will just keep doing this, and then they give up and go away. And khalas, this is what the user is doing. Yani, khalas, what are you going to do? So we thought of the problem, and we said, khalas, if somebody is clicking create account, and the account already exists, and he has written the username and the password correctly, I'm just going to log him in. I'm going to change his selection. And if he is clicking log in and the username and the password do not exist before, I'm just going to create an account for him. So, khalas. I mean, sometimes the problem that the user faces, I remember that we were having a discussion backstage, and we have this service called Maqra'a, and there is this button. And the Maqra'a has a specific time. There is a button where, when the Maqra'a is active now, you will click the button and you will join. Khalas. And then we used to have a counter on the button. People did not know what the counter means. And then we change it to be pending. When it is not there, it is pending. And you don't understand what pending means. And then we changed it to join at the designated time. But when they click on the button, nothing happens, and they do not have the time to read that the designated time is not now. So they think that the application is not working. And I was having a discussion, for example, with my development lead today, and I tell him, khalas, we cannot change their mind. If they click on the button that says join at the designated time, and they do not notice that the designated time is not now, just make a pop-up message that says, come back in 15 minutes, come back in 20 minutes, just talk to them, okay? And there are tens or hundreds of lessons like this, things that you think as somebody who is a tech savvy or somebody who has used so many apps before, but the little kid will not think this way, and the old man will not think this way, and the 25 or 35 year old mother will not think this way. Every one of them thinks in a different way. Every one of them has a different perception of what is on the screen. Every one of them has his own experience. A woman, for example, is so good at using Amazon for shopping, خلاص? But maybe she is very used to the Zoom experience for having a video call, and she maps her knowledge. A man is used to some other things, maybe used to Teams because he uses it in his work. Maybe he is very used to paying with credit card. Maybe his old grandfather is not. So you have to, the lesson learned in one sentence, if you want to reach the right place, let the customer take you to the right place. And for the customer to take you, keep asking the customer, do not be stubborn. Change your mind. What is obvious to you is not obvious to everybody else, and what is obvious to everybody else need not be obvious to you. So keep learning from your client. If you are in the B2C business or community service or a public service or whatever, delivered through an electronic vehicle, listen to your customer very, very well. You will not stop learning, and the customer will take you to the right place if you give him the opportunity. And this is what we are spending most of our time, because you can say that practically we launched in Ras Ramadan. Before that, we had a soft launch, and since then we are learning every single day from the way our customers are using the application. We're trying to enhance it. We're trying to get in contact with them. We're trying to monitor their journey from one screen to one screen. We're trying to monitor where they drop or where they continue. It's really fun, but if there is one lesson or one thing to say for people who are having B2C things, is to listen to your customer very well. Yeah.
So that's an amazing lesson. Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you for your time. I believe that's you're very generous, actually sharing all of this and being that open. And I know that this is a very open market and competitive market, and in a way, what you're doing is something that actually enables others actually to become who you want to be, in a way that's really by accessing good, high quality Quran tutoring and education that connects them to their culture and their and who they are and what they sorry, this is something that's wrong. Yeah, sorry. So this is a very wrong banner. It's just so I hope like in the very near future we see it entering every day, every house of every Arab and Muslim around the world, and non-Muslims, non-Arabs, also to access the services and really learn about this amazing book. So thank you.
And by the way, if you amazing app, I think you mean. By the way, if you guys did not catch the long link to the App Store, you can just type Qupil on the App Store or the Google Play. Just QUPI. Qupil, by the way, stands for Quran Pupil. QU is Quran, PIL is pupil. So طالب القرآن. So that's amazing. Some people ask, what does pupil mean? So that's what it means.
Yeah. Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who has this.
Thank you, everybody who really followed us today, and thank you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.